name's Chris. This is a 2013 Audi RS5. Bought the car back in, I think it was like 2018. Always wanted this car. My boss at the time bought the car and he knew that I always wanted it. He had a kid, needed to get a, an SUV, and ended up selling it to me.
All right, you guys, one of the last, if not the last, naturally aspirated V8 from Audi. 4.2 liter Audi RS5. We're gonna hop in with the owner here, Chris, and see what we can do. He told me he hasn't done launch control, is that right?
Yeah, this will be the first.
All right, let's go. I kind of love when I get into a car and there's no dyno yet.
Yeah.
It's the best. You don't have any like preconceived idea of how fast it should be. It just is what it is. Wow, that is insane. It doesn't feel like there's any slip immediately off the line. It's just like boom.
A little bit of red line there.
Yeah, a little bit of red
unlike
limit.
the previous tune where it shifts for you. So I guess now I have to shift. It's good to know.
Wow. That's ridiculous. I mean, that feels like a 3 second 0 to 60.
Yeah, it sticks.
There's just enough drama to make it feel actually like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ooh, that is one of the greatest sounds. Modern Audis just do not provide that experience. Sign of the times. The NA era is quickly disappearing, at least on the lower tier, like sub $100,000 cars. On the top tier stuff, I mean, Ferrari just announced, I think yesterday, their new V12 replacement for the A12. They're still going full ham on the NA stuff, which I can really appreciate. But when you're already at 4,000 RPM and you have another 4,500 RPM to play with, you know it's gonna be a good day. Overindulgence, if there was overindulgence, it's having an extra 4,500 RPMs to play with. Yeah, so a few months ago, our friend Frank at PG Performance, I don't believe he works there anymore, but at the time he did, showed me his GTI, and then I went over there, I shot their Golf R, I drove that. You guys loved or hated that video. And at the time, PG was building this car, was building Chris's car. The engine was out the time that I saw it, and I saw the supercharger on the table. I'm like, okay, that's gonna either make the 4.2 completely undrivable, or it's gonna turn the car into a complete animal with torque everywhere and still let it be drivable. And so far, it's incredibly drivable. Now, these also had a 7-speed dual clutch. Before the e-tron era, as I like to call it, these cars are a lot more subtle in their styling compared to the new stuff. The new RS3 takes a lot from the e-tron and the R8, a lot more kind of aggressive. This looks aggressive, but it's clean. It's simple, and I love this BBS look that Chris has done here. This to me is like BMWs, Audis, VWs. You can completely embrace this BBS look here. Wow, 8,300 RPM.
This is the last NA V8 that Audi will ever make. And Audi is known for their V8s, right? Their 4.2 V8s have been in so many chassis. So that's what makes this car special. And that's why I wanted the car. There are a couple custom built turbo RS5s out there. JHM did release their supercharger kit, and I was lucky enough to be one of the first client cars with it. I'm the first in Canada. This is the intakes, whatnot, but this is a stage 4 JHM supercharger build. What that means is I have the race headers, I have the lightweight flywheel, and their supercharger kit, which is a Vortec. And then you put in their software. There's a lot of other components they require, but those are, that's kind of the big bits for sure, yeah. It's just that additional power that it needed, especially in the higher revs, I would say it's probably at around 650 to 700, somewhere in between there. But yeah, once it gets into the high revs, man, that thing sings and it flies. It's great. Yeah.
Now, I was expecting to hear a lot more supercharger, and a lot of these kits will have a, that guy's like, what is making all this noise? A lot of these superchargers, when you come off throttle, will have that whistle. I'm not getting that here. Occasionally, you'll get a little bit of belt squeal. Oh yeah, there's some whistle. And then the exhaust just takes over. The overrun crackles and then the whistle accompanies it. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I mean, it's outside the car, I'm sure you can hear the supercharger, but I'm kind of glad. It keeps the spirit of the NA engine here a lot more than I was expecting. I was expecting the V8 sound to be compromised. It's not. It's not at all. Steering gets really light at low speeds too. That's something that Audi did with this electric power steering system, and a lot of new cars do this as well, but there is a ton of assist at low speeds. Parking lots, it's like incredibly light, and then as you get up to speed above 50-60 kilometers an hour, it weights up really nicely. There is a screen up here too, Audi's MMI system, I guess. It's not the greatest, but Chris has gone ahead and hooked up Android Auto. So it's all modern, all works well. Apple CarPlay's there. Yeah, I just realized I was in comfort that whole time. So the exhaust was in quiet mode, but we are gonna go up here. Dynamic, oh my God. What? That's insane. All right, here we go. Yeah, the transmission's on point. Early dual clutches with a tune like this absolutely hold up. Brake pedal really firm. Wow, the brakes feel great. Amazing. It's too loud for public consumption. Wow.
So there's two pieces. There's the ECU and the TCU. The TCU is the transmission. Basically, the biggest change is the shifts are like lightning fast. Also, with the launch mode, you can rev to a lot higher so that, you know, the transmission can take a little bit more punishment. The tranny in this car is actually fairly strong, so you can put a lot of power into it. It's a lot like the trannies from the R8s, and people are putting, I think Sheepy Race does like 1,200 horsepower, and they're like, yeah, that's no problem. Same thing with the engine. The engine is actually a lot like the R8 V10 engine, just minus 2 cylinders. Sheepy Race puts a lot of power into those engines, and they don't have to do internals. So I think we're safe with what JHM is doing here. Audi's great engineers thought it'd be an amazing idea to put their cats built into the headers. So obviously you want high flow cat or high flow headers. To put on the JHM headers, it's an engine out, put on the headers. It has an upgraded flywheel clutch. So basically, the power plant removed from the car.
And the front bumper had to come off?
Front bumper off of the car. And the front bumper, because where the supercharger is so close to the bumper, you have to we had to take the bumper off multiple times to get it to fit. It was not easy. Like the tolerances in this engine bay
it's tight.
It's very, very tight. Like that thing's squeezed in there. So putting the supercharger in there is, you know, there's not a lot of room.
It's cool though.
Yeah.
It's super stealthy. If I
Yeah.
looked at this, I would think, hey, maybe it's got a few bolt-ons, but you can't see the supercharger.
Yeah, no,
pretty cool.
it's definitely hidden. It's down at the bottom left grill there, which means that you probably can't drive this in the rain unless you have a sock on the filter.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's right down there, and like someone drives through a puddle or something, it's just gonna go suck right in. So that is a downside.
Yeah, this thing's crazy. Way less understeer than the S4 I recently drove, B5 S4, and that had a 4-cylinder in it. This thing is phenomenal, is great. I mean, it weighs 4,000 pounds, it's heavy, but compared to modern cars, it's not a lot. For a GT kind of highway cruiser car, it's sharp. I know this has real torque vectoring as well. It's got obviously a center differential, and then the rear differential, the sport differential in the RS5 has real torque vectoring. So when you're powering out, it's sending more torque to the outside wheel, rear wheel, as well as using brake-based torque vectoring to kind of slightly brake the inside wheel and help you rotate. You feel it. I mean, when you dive in, there is still a little bit of nose-heavy feeling. But if there was anything they could do to solve it or make it feel more like you're connected to the car, like you're at one with the car, they've done it here. This engine is something else too. So the 4.2 FSI V8 engine was introduced in the Audi R8, the first gen Audi R8 and the RS4, kind of around the same time. Now the R8 obviously dry sump, these kind of more streetable daily cars are wet sump, but this was developed after the V10 FSI was developed, which was based on the original 4.2 FSI. And then this engine, basically the final iteration of the 4.2 FSI engine, was kind of based off the V10. And this was the most powerful version, more powerful than the R8 4.2, 450 horsepower out of the box.
These are kind of like my more motorsport look wheels. They're BBS CHRs, 20 by 10.5, with Nitto 555 R2s, which are 285 30/20s. And they're pretty much perfect for this build. It just hooks. The other wheels I have are Avant-Garde's F521s, and they're definitely more of like a stancy show car wheel. So I have the wheels accompanied with JHM bigger front and back rotors with Hawk HPS 5.0 brake pads. Yeah, the brakes were going anyways. And if you were to get the stock rotors, like they come in like the wave rotors, they were common in R8s, were more expensive. So these are more lightweight and they're bigger. It's kind of, and they're cheaper. It's like a no-brainer. So the suspension is KWV3s, which, you know, you can't really get better. Well, you can, but KWV3s, you can't go wrong. So I bought this car for this engine and I wanted to push it to its limits. And so now that's what we have. You know, and there's no looking back. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, so coming off the line, the dual clutch, yeah, it's not as refined as you would find in a brand new dual clutch. But where it counts at full chat, it's phenomenal. And the power rolls on really smooth. It really does feel like what you would expect or what you're looking for when you put a centrifugal supercharger on a car like this. You're looking for the power to build with the RPMs as it did with the original engine, with the original kind of NA power band. And that's exactly what you get. 3,000 RPM. Boatloads of torque, just still an incredible amount of torque, but it doesn't have that turbo shove. And if you're looking for an NA kind of experience, just bumped up to modern power standards, I mean, what is there? I mean, the only thing I could say is that, yeah, there's a little bit of drone, and that if I had to guess, it's probably a little bit stiffer than it was stock. but that's the price you pay. You want KWs. They're still incredibly good at handling bumps. There has been no rub, actually. Chris said there might be, but yeah, seamless shifts. All right, hopefully you guys enjoy this. Chris, thank you so much for coming out today. Glad we got the supercharger on here. It has not taken away from the OEM daily livability of the car, and that is the key. Just bump up, increase the area under the curve. That's the goal. Really cool. So yeah, subscribe if you haven't already. Hit me up on Instagram at Roads Untraveled. I'll put all of Chris's stuff down below. You can hit up PG Performance. And Frank, I'll even put your Instagram down there as well, because this shoot wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for you. So thanks guys for watching. We'll see you soon.